Hello and welcome to Flower Juice. My name's John McDonald and today I'm going to show you how to make a single-ended spray. So not that long ago we looked at like a large double-ended spray, which is a really useful arrangement. This is like a simple version of that, but really looking at one arrangement that comes to a point. So we've got a range of flowers that we're going to use. We're going to use some roses for our focal flowers. We've got some carnations to really give us our basic flower. I've got some stalks just because they're lovely. And we've got a range of foliage to create a base for this. So what we've got is we've got a single-ended tray with a single block of wet floral foam, and I've just used some of the pot tape to put that in. And you don't need to go mad with pot tape, that's not going to fall off. So essentially a single-ended, what we want to do is we want to think about 1/3 for the blunt end to 2/3 for the pointed end, and we want to come out a little bit like a kite shape. And also, if this is a third, we want to come up quite high in a traditional item, but you can make it lower if you prefer. So let's start with our foliage. So I'm using this French ruscus, which is a really ideal foliage for doing this. And to show this really to the best, we'll just put that in first. So this would really show you the kind of dimensions that we would be wanting to do. So we've got from this point here, 2/3, 1/3, coming out again probably like a third. So we're going to create an item this dimension and we can come up as high as this with a flower. We've got our outline, so now we can add in our flowers, and I find it's easier to use some big leaves first. So the fatsias are great for going nice and low, and they give you a little bit of visual weight. So my two bigger ones, I'm going there, and then we can have these ones here. Now you don't want them side by side so it makes a square, you want to just put them slightly off center. And I've got some aspidistra, so we can use again this to strengthen our line going that way. So this has a lovely flow, and we can use that. So if you can imagine all the stems radiating from a centre point, that's really what we want to achieve. So everything is going to be angled as if it comes out from there. So I'm just going to roll a couple of these so they're not too long. So I wouldn't put this here because then this is going to change this shape. We want to keep this as like a return and going down there. The looped aspidistra gives a very nice effect actually. So another useful foliage for this are the leatherleaf fern. The great thing about it is you can split it down into units and we can work that through. So really with our foliage we're wanting to create a range of textures and interest in our base. So again I'm just working out from that centre line. So quite quickly we can create a base for our flowers. The good thing with these big leaves is they do give support. So if I was to put softer material underneath as the main kind of foliage, it's more liable to get damaged. So actually that gives a little bit of protection to the foliage above. Okay, so I'm just going to show you this. This has softened it. So we had a very kind of set shape to begin with, but adding that foliage has softened that, and obviously that makes it look more natural. Now I've got a little bit of pittosporum, and we're going to pop that in just to create a contrast. So that variegated foliage is quite nice. And again, I'm looking at the material to break it down into little units. So, for our main flower then, our main flower is going to be these roses. And really a rose is probably your more expensive flower that you would put into it. So what I'm looking for is one that is the smallest, so this is going to be our longest. And we can put that down low. You can take off any outer petals. These are really just cover petals or guard petals. they're not a real petal. Sometimes the customer thinks, oh, it's a damaged rose, but it's not. It's just nature. So again, I'm looking like the stems are radiating out. And we can put our main rose right there. Now, I really want the rose to show off, so we're just going to take a little bit of that tip off. So what I'm doing with this is I'm just staggering these down. So we're going, if you imagine a center line, we're just going slightly off to create a beautiful line. So our secondary flower was these carnations. So carnations give you good value. And again, we're just going to work these in. So we don't need to be quite as worried about creating a line. You can if you want. I've got quite a few carnations here, so I can just work them through. So again, I'm looking for ones that have got a nice shape. Or if I'm going to put one down here, I want it to be nice and strong. I don't want to feel that it's on a stem that's going to break. So this one here has obviously got a weak joint, so we can take that off. So we had a kind of line going down the middle, so now I'm looking at these outer edges and thinking where best to place the carnations now. So we can put some low down, and we can have some higher up. So again, just to show you, we've created a secondary amount of flower. Got a little escapee, so he can go in as well. So really, I find these absolutely beautiful. It's quite a soft flower. It's good to take some of the foliage off with the stalk, and we want to show these off to good effect. So a nice clean cut. And we're looking for the places in this that you'll really see this flower. I've also got two different colours, so we want to be careful that we put those colours through. So a spray like this you could use for different purposes. You could even use it for hanging on a wall, or maybe an event work for marquees. It's quite a useful sort of design using a spray like this. It gives a nice shape. And the nice thing with the stalk is that it has a lovely perfume. Okay, I'll just clear that away. So essentially this is the basis that we want to have, is at least three main kind of flowers, but our focal flower, our secondary flower, and our tertiary flower. And then anything else you want to add, you could add a little bit of wax flower or something else to create even more interest. But all I'm going to do is just use a little bit of asparagus fern to finish this. So again, it's just finding something that's got a difference in texture that will really highlight this. So depending on what purpose you're going to do, you can make your own selection of flowers. So we can even add some little Lisianthus. And these little last flowers are just like little highlights, really. So I'm really just looking for the spaces in between to bring in these flowers. And if you want it to be really floral and pretty, then I would suggest using lots of different flowers. If you're wanting quite a kind of stylized look, then what you can do is you can be more selective and do it, say, just roses or just carnations, and that will give you a totally different look. And even little buds, we can add some little buds. So this is all just about levels and following a formula, but a formula that works very well. So essentially this is it. This is our spray. Now traditionally this rose would sit very high. I think a lot of florists nowadays would lower this down and make it a little bit less prominent. But really if you're going to have this in a use where it's going to be on the ground, then actually sitting high really makes it stand out. So a simple single-ended spray design, and really very straightforward to do. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and if you'd like to subscribe, then you can click here, and that keeps you up to date with all our designs and ideas. Thank you for watching.